Squawks to everybody. We might as well get started. Roll call, please, Jennifer.
Mike Delson,
I'm here.
Tom McDonald,
Here.
Jennifer Finley, Jim Molitor, Carol Langford, Danielle Matt, Bing Matt, James Steele Jr.,
Yes.
Martin Charlo,
Present.
Len Titi, Lenise Trahan.
Thank you, Jen. Morning, Jennifer. Len, will you give us a prayer this morning? Please. Thank you, Len. We do have a couple sets of minutes this morning. We'll start with July 2nd.
Motion to approve the July 2nd minutes with corrections.
Motion by Len to accept the July 2nd minutes. Second by James. All in favor? Unanimous.
I abstain.
Jennifer abstains. We'll move to the July 5th minutes.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I emailed my corrections to Abby and basically condensed my words down on page 3 and 4. Appreciate the day honoring Vern Claremont. James appreciated working with Vern. He helped James in lots of ways. And then we lost a young person in St. Ignatius, and he wanted to remember the Curtis Brown family today. James discussed the work, Triple Opioid Response Grant, and how it helps the community and our people that are addicted to opioids, to help our people that are in addiction and affliction that that affliction affects the whole community. Talked about how we are all part of helping our fellow people. So I just kind of changed it and chopped it down, kind of rambled. The other change I made was page 5 of 10, where we did the recognitions. It's Denise Pugmire, and I changed that as well.
Thank you, Jane. Bing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My statement there in, right after, on the second page there, it says, Public Law 280 enrollment. I think it's got other issues. It said they will be faced with some big issues. I like to take that part out.
Thank you, Bing. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I just want to make one correction on mine. It's just a, looks like a typo spelling error, on page 3. It says Jennifer is a strong believer in naturopathic care. It should be naturopathic care. That's the only change I want to make.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Thank you, Jennifer. Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Abby, in my statement, can I, instead of, it's like the last sentence, Martin sat down with someone and it was, working in our recovery community, yes, would be the phrase that I'd like to read, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Go ahead, Tom.
Make a motion to approve the July 5th tribal council minutes with corrections.
Motion by Tom, second by Bing to accept the July 5th minutes with corrections. All in favor? Unanimous. We have an agenda. Anybody got items? Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I sent out an item I received last night to council for consideration for participating on an upcoming planning symposium or workshop.
James? Carol? Bing? Lynn? Any others? Well, I'd entertain a motion for the agenda. Motion by Carol to accept today's agenda with these additions. Second by Tom. All in favor? Unanimous. Did you want to say more, Tom, than what you just did?
Oh, yeah, a little bit. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I emailed you all this morning with this request from Julie, Anton, Randall, and Keith Ani. Keith Ani is used to work for the World Wildlife Conservation Organization, and he wrote the very first state of Montana bison recovery plans, and then got shot down by various different administrations. But he's still active in the conservation movement, and he's been party to the American Bison Society's conferences that they've periodically put on in the past. Julie is our current IBMP cat wrangler, I guess, EMC. And then she also is head of one foundation that I belong to, Wildlife Restoration Fund. And then she belongs to Zoo and Parks Association, a couple other hats that she hangs on. But she was hoping that that I would be able to participate on the planning committee for a workshop that they're planning to do in Colorado next spring. Just if council wants to grant me the privilege to work on that, they may come back and ask for a donation later on, just with that heads up. but don't know. They're trying to raise money so there's scholarship for folks. It's a different type of planning committee where they're trying to do more like the Intertribal Bison Council does, but trying to strengthen all of genetically pure bison production in concert with wild restorative herds. So it's kind of a unique workshop they're trying to put together. So I just ask council's consideration if they would like me to participate or not. It's all virtual Zoom meetings until the actual event. Thank you.
Any objection to Tom? Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I think, Tom, that would be a great idea, and I can't think of anyone better among us to represent us than you on this issue. So I think that'd be great.
Any objection? Think we're cool, Tom?
Lemons.
James?
Yeah, just, we showed interest quite a while back on the Corville property up here, just here in town, and I've been kind of wanting to get an update on that from the lands department, the status. The last I talked to Homer, he had called, I think Mark was gone at the time, and Polly Hitchcock was trying to help as best she could, but because she wasn't working on that project particularly, she wasn't able to locate the file and such. So I just need a follow-up on that to see, because we did show interest to purchase. It's been since April, and the family was going to turn it out to the open market, but because we're just talking just right here, ties in with what we've got up here. So it'd be nice if we could get that done. And anyway, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, James. Carol?
Needed, or not confirmation. I needed to, confirm that the footprint in Ronan for the playground, skate park, and the pickleball was 3 acres, or was it 2? Anybody remember offhand? And maybe I should just have Abby pull it up, but, they needed to make sure there was enough room for the playground, because it looks like it's gonna require 2 acres. Me and Tom are gonna have a meeting with Eleanor Viscara tomorrow and take a look at that location if we can, otherwise I'll be going. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't adding an acre, but I think what I understand is what we need for the whole thing is what is there available. So is that your understanding? Yeah, and if Abby could pull up the minutes so I could give it to somebody to show them that it's available for that
Go ahead,
use.
Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, when you're considering this, vital playground and equipment for safe things for our children and families to do, especially while they're there visiting the health clinic. Yeah, the more land we provide for this, especially for parking, the better we'll be. So I think even if it was 2 acres, we can adjust it and clarify to match what we have the money to build, because we apparently have enough land there. So that's what I would advise. I think the only sensitive thing there for the skate park is the water table. And so it'll be a little bit different than other ones you see. It's gonna have to be mounted up a little bit, so it'll be different. Thank you.
No skating in a pond. Carol? Real nice looking facility. Thank you, Carol. Bing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought we were well, maybe we are. Having some people in here this morning talk about the Powell grounds. We had quite a little busy weekend up there, water situation again and electrical issues in food stands. There was no electricity in there again when, in the plug-in area, so they couldn't operate their stoves or nothing in there. So anyway, we had a lot of complaints, that the powwow committee had, and I talked to a couple of them people. I said, hey, that's powwow committee's here to run the powwow. They're not here for maintenance issues. But a couple of them got so upset, but couldn't. I didn't want to argue with them, but I just told them, well, if you have anything to say, we'll come into council and let them know. So anyway, it was a long weekend, but it was a good weekend, with all the people that came. There's a lot of people that showed up there to powwow. And, it was good to see the number of dancers there. Yes, again, there was 600 dancers there again. So anyway, it just the idea of having to go through this every year with the maintenance issues and water issues, and tell them to work on it. And 2 weeks before the powwow starts, they want to do something and they don't get anything done. Year after year, the last 3 years I know of, it's happened, and it gets to be a pain in the neck to get this done. But another thing, like I said, we had 600 dancers there with all the people and drums there. It's kind of hard for them to get around. And as Tom was there, Saturday or Thursday when he came, Tom? Friday. But yeah, they came and he seen how many dancers there were. When Carol was there and they just kept pushing us in. We were shoulder to shoulder there. So I talked to a couple guys and they said, Bing, he says, well, there was talk about building a new arbor. And they said that we'd like to know if the council is still going to do that. I said, well, as far as I know, they plan on it. And I told them, I talked to them Tuesday when I come to council to see if we can possibly get that started and off the ground where we can have that new arbor. Because it's a mess, with it's small there, and with all the people coming, it's just too small. So I'd like to, see if we can get this off the ground and see if we can start planning on it and see if we can get it built. Also, probably the restrooms too that need to go. We need to probably build some better restrooms in there and whatnot. And for the people, and that's just so we won't have this problem again. But I felt real bad for my family, for the catching hell every time we turn around. They were catching hell from somebody for that bathrooms and the concession stands and whatnot, and the only ones that didn't complain was the ones that had the other people that had concession stand out there that had their own, there was no complaints about them, and they talked to some there last night were still there that's going to head for Browning today. But then they said that they really enjoyed it. This is one of them was their 4th time back in 4 years. And she come from Arizona. She was here, like I say, for the last 4 years, and she really enjoys it. But, I wish there was other council members there that could hear all the things that the family caught from the people. And like I stated, they're not maintenance people. Tom said it before. They're there to run the powwow, and that's all they're there for. Their committee. And they're not maintenance people. So, it was tiresome. And every time you turn around, I was calling and I had to stop at the gate, talk to tribal police and had them call up here to dispatch because I couldn't get a hold of dispatch. A couple of times I called. And then to see if I could get somebody to come get a hold of somebody at housing or maintenance or whoever is on call. But I couldn't get hold of them so I went up to the gate and I had, them guys call up here at dispatch and they called and they got a hold of dispatch and they told them. And when the last day, Sunday, I went in the gate and he said, Bing, he said, did anybody ever show up? I said, well, not that I know of. Toilets are still down and everything, so I don't think anybody showed up. He said, well, I seen one maintenance person come in all weekend. He said, the one person, and who was it? He said, well, I'm not sure who it was. He said, but it's, it'd be nice if they would have showed up like they were supposed to show up. I called Tony and found out Tony was up in St. Regis. And I called Lisa. She was in St. Regis. Told her about the problem. So it was a hell of a mess, and like I say, when one maintenance man that they said showed up, and that's what the tribal police told me that they seen. And my granddaughter, she was right on head of that. Bathrooms and cleaning and everything there, so she said that nobody ever come in and clean. Toilets are still like that. But it's hard to deal with something like that when you're trying to put an event on like as big as it was. I really appreciate Michelle, Patricia, for opening the community center so the people could go down and take showers. I really appreciate her for doing that. But it just, and it's just tough to hear him holler about at the members all the time, and the community, the powwow committee all the time, and they don't have nothing to do with it. We had 4 individuals from housing were assigned to work there. And all I ever seen those 4 individuals do was shovel snow or mow the grass. That was I think that's all they ever did for housing. And I don't know what they were going to do when they got up to the powwow grounds, but all those duties were taken care of. So I don't know what the deal was with having them 4 people there. Well, I never did see them. But it's just a hell of a mess, to go through this every year, and things are not getting. We ask them to get them done, and they don't get done. So that's why I kind of want to maybe push this issue so we can get this arbor built and get some new bathrooms in there, so we can have a better powwow where everybody can enjoy themselves and not have to worry about toilets plugging up, backing up, and having crap all over the floor and everything else, So it would be nice that we could go through that and not have to worry about that. But I thought there'd be more people in here this morning, because I heard some of them I talked to yesterday said they were coming in this morning. So, I thought, well, come on in and tell the council your complaints. Then I'll know what I heard from you people. So, I don't know if there's anybody out here the people out here sitting out here is going to talk about it, but that's what we went through the weekend. So I thought I'd bring it up and let the council know, the issues that we had down there, and also bring up this issue with the new arbor and the bathrooms down there. So hopefully we can maybe get this off the ground and get things built and tear some of them other buildings out of there, and where we can put this new arbor in there. So that's all I got to say. But I really felt bad for the committee because they caught all this hell, you know. So, well, I said, and then they talked to me about it. I told them, I said, I'm not on the committee. I'm really not on the committee, you know. And it's a conflict of interest for me, you know, if I'm going to be on that committee. And so I just kind of trying to stay out of it so I don't have that. So, you know, it's heartening to hear, to see what they have to go through. Come up to the stands there, the powwow stands, and right in the window there, they're arguing with them, you know, and hey, we can't have no control over that, you know, we called. And if we don't come, what can we do? So anyway, that's my story, I guess. So, I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Bing. Go ahead, Tom.
Want to comment on Bing's statement. Yeah, I watched, you know, like Bing and so many of the rest of us here on council, watched the different powwow committees and different powwows occur down there. This is our celebration. We're hosting. We are providing this for everybody. And it reflects upon us and how we are doing this and how we're treating this. And then you think about volunteers that always step up and serve on these committees. And, you know, they're doing it for the love of our community and our culture. And then we put one thing out there that makes it a handicap for them. Success. Crappy facilities that aren't taken care of, or we even identify what the limiting factor is and we still can't seem to fix it. But that's an added stressor that the committees don't need. It's not their job. And so, you know, I thought with the ARPA money, we were going to end up maybe with a whole new bathroom facility, maybe even a new pavilion, but it didn't happen. We know the limiting factor is water. We know there was power issues. We know there was leakage. We knew there was drainage. There's all these different things with both powwow grounds. But I would just make it a priority as being suggested, because we don't want to hamstring our volunteers and make our powwow not the best that it can be, because it's a beautiful celebration. Just like being said, that first night, beginning of competition, there was nearly 600 dancers came in. I mean, you guys were all there, Carol and Martin, Danielle, Jennifer, you guys were all there. You saw what that was. It was pretty powerful. A powerful thing, and it should be a powerful place. And it should be utilized for multiple things throughout the year. We should be able to utilize these facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Hey, Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you, Bing, for your comments. I did notice the bathroom situation as well. I think that and I agree with Tom's comments also. We're hosting this powwow, and it's our responsibility to make sure that the facilities are all in good working order. And I think that with repairs on the powwow grounds, we have to set a deadline that's well before July, a hard deadline when all the repairs need to be done, and clarify and specify what those repairs are and have a check-in halfway so we can have an update on the progress. Because otherwise, since I've been on council, this happens every year. Things don't get done, or things get done at the last minute. And that's just not a way to do business. You have to set a deadline. This is what we're gonna have done, and this is what we're gonna have, when we're gonna have it done by. So I think that's necessary with the powwow ground repairs. We have to set a hard deadline. I think as council, say this is a hard deadline. This is a directive by council. We're not asking you if, we're telling you this has to be done and by when, and it's your job to figure it out. You guys are getting paid a lot of money to do that. A lot of money. You guys are getting paid a lot of money. You guys can figure this out. That's your job. Anyway, and I also just kind of reminds me of why I think it's also important to have a development person with the Friends of the Flathead Nation. I think this would be a really good opportunity for a development person to raise money for the repair of the powwow grounds, because I was there on Friday night, and grand entry, I think it was the biggest grand entry that I've ever seen, or one of the bigger ones. It was huge. And, so yeah, I think definitely a new arbor, new bleachers, you know, a redesign of the whole thing probably. And, um, so I think we have some hard conversations and set some hard deadlines and hold people accountable for those deadlines and have check-ins halfway through. Because I think that's the only way it's gonna get done. Lunch.
Carol,
Yeah, I was just wondering, is there money in the water compact to, upgrade so, the powwow grounds? No, even though it's involved with the culture and all that? This is where I miss Rick Enius, because really think that he could, figure out ways to get this funded, even if we needed to borrow the money to build a state-of-the-art, powwow grounds, because it really needs to be done. And we're already into the next year's powwow. And so, whatever we need to do, I think we need to find the money and just get it done and stop, giving people an opportunity to gripe at the committee. But the other complaint I got, and it's been going on for a couple years, and people say it's more of a Blackfeet powwow. And I told the person that I talked to yesterday about it, I said, you know what? What you really need to do is step up and help out instead of saying things like that, because I haven't seen anybody else step up and give the powwow committee the assistance that they need. It's just one family. And I tell you, I really feel the powwow has been ran better with the organization of this family. I really do, because now they get us out of the sun, and and they try to do things that I think really help the organization of the powwow. So anybody that brings to my attention, I just tell them, you need to step up. If you can do it better, do it. I know the person called Len also that texted me about it. And so anyway, I just think we need to find the money. I think we need to get it done and stop talking about it. That's the problem. There is no money in the budgets to do it, and there's nobody to actually organize it. I mean, you can put it on somebody's plate, they'll do it, but right now there's no funding. So they're all kind of pulling from each other's budgets. So you need to set a budget, get somebody in that position to organize it, and then get it done. But until that happens, it's going to be all over the place, just like it is now. And I think also in that mix, you can also include that cemeteries, some of the cemeteries that are kind of left out of the whole, cleanup and the road, and there's just a couple of them that really need some help. And I think one person could probably manage all of that with the assistance of the departments. And I had one other thing, Mr. Chairman. We need to have a porta potty down at the skate park in Arley until we get our bathrooms up. And we'll start working on that. I'm hoping me and Tom can sit down with the program and start working on those right away.
do you want to say, Martin?
Again, from last year, this Blackfeet powwow. We only have one enrolled Blackfeet member, and he was a arena director. The rest of them were all from here. But they all, like I said last year, they all have Blackfeet blood in them. And grandkids, my sister's grandkids, she had one boy that helped out with the arena. And then one feller from Arizona, my niece's husband, he was doing the, drums. That's all they had. I don't know why they keep saying Black people. You know, every year, same thing. Blackfeet Powell, Blackfeet Powell. We only have one Blackfeet member in there enrolled that works there. You know, and my sister, my brother, my sons, all Blackfeet. They all have Blackfeet blood in them. You know, but they're enrolled here. We had another issue with new Miss Whitehead. Evidently, I guess she's enrolled, but I guess she lives in Idaho. And we've had complaints about that. So, well, if she's enrolled, she's got a right to run. She wants to, you know, but I think we had one other time, we had an enrolled member from another tribe that lived in elsewhere other than the reservation here that enrolled and got that position. So I don't know. There's always complaints about different things, you know. So I don't know what I just told the kid. I told the rest of the family. I said, "Don't worry about it. If she's an enrolled member, there's not too much they can do." You know, but he has every right to run just like any other member. Yeah, that too is another issue. So, that I just let you guys know before that comes into liable to come in too. So anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Bing. Len, is your issue powwow related? If not, we got one other. It is. Is your issue powwow related or not? Ooh. Well, I think we have a group here that still wants to talk about the Arley powwow. So, if they'll come up.
Wait, I have Tony still standing here. He wanted to make a comment about the Arley.
Oh, okay.
So, excuse me, thanks. You're absolutely right. There's some issues with Arley powwow. And we're trying to figure out where it sits. Does it sit with facilities? Does it sit with lands? It's been directed multiple times at different departments, different areas. So we're trying to come up with a plan, myself, Lisa and Greg, of where it really sits. And we're trying to vet it into property management and the lands. We're working with Greg and Ruth to actually get it a budget. To actually be able to put these upgrades and maintenance back into the grounds, as opposed to pulling from different budgets to trying to piecemeal everything to work. Last year, we knew electrical was one of the main things. That was the big fix of the year. Each kitchen vendor was given its own power source, power grid. If there was an electrical issue this year, I didn't hear about it until last night. And so we're gonna be in contact with the Arley Fire Department, since apparently they were called. See what the issue was, and Lands is gonna have someone go down there and do a check on the electrical system. The next big fix is the water management down there. It is past capacity. So we're trying to figure out, we contracted SKM to do an analysis and assessment of what the water capacity is. The next upgrade is to redo the water system. And that way all toilets, all showers can work. But our plan right now is to try to now vest it in property management and start to go through that organized plan that was delivered to you guys last year of kind of everything that's needed. There was repairs, maintenance, but then there's also a wish list kind of attached to it. But we need to work on the repairs and maintenance part of it first, so we can get what we have right now functional and running and start to build out from that. So just to give you an update, that's where we're at. So talking with Greg and Ruth, we're trying to get sub-accounts for each powwow ground set up in the lands, property management, and start working on those facilities this fall, as opposed to July, as opposed to right before the powwow. So we're gonna get a contracted plumber down there, this fall. We'll check out the electrical system and start working on each plan that was developed for each.
Go ahead, Pink.
Tony, on this electrical issue that they supposedly fixed. They put all plug-ins in those concession stands for ranges. That's the kind of plug-ins they put in. People cannot go put a regular plug-in in for some of the equipment that they have down there. They can't do that because they've got those big plug-ins for ranges or dryers. That's what they put in there. They couldn't even get an adapter to put in there. So they could plug in, different cords. They said they went to town, tried to get an adapter for them. They couldn't get an adapter for them. So it's, it just, I don't know why they ever put them in. I don't. And a lot of those, the bathrooms, they bladder in them. A couple of them, that's got bad, and that's what kept making them run. And the toilets underneath were leaking. So I don't know if they didn't tighten the deals under them to tighten up so they would quit leaking or not. But that's what it looked like, is that they just weren't tight. And they were just coming out there leaking. So whenever they put those toilets in, or did work on them, I don't know if they would just put them on, tighten them up a little bit, and then let it go. But that's the things that they run into down there. And I was there, I looked at them too, like Carol did, or Jennifer did. And then that's the way they were. And it gets to be tiresome, old, when you gotta fight with the people with them all the time, and they try to get them cleaned up and close the showers down for a little bit, and the people are hollering, raising hell with them, but the showers being closed, but they had to because there was no water. And they left the bathrooms open, for people, but they closed the shower area because there was just not enough water for the showers. So, and then, like I stated, we all called people, Freddie called people and get them up here. Supposedly we had a man on call, but we never seen him. I guess he came and made a comment, came once, but that's all. But yeah, I don't think he did anything when he came. So, SKMM was supposed to be in charge of this. But we talked to Kyle last year after it's all over and informed him what was going on. This was all supposed to have been taken care of. He was supposed to do this. We kept talking to him, Kyle, when they come and started to do that work, when are we going to do that work? Well, we're going to work it up. We're working it. Not a goddamn thing was done. And that's what really upsets everybody when they tell you they're going to do something and nothing's done. And the leadership is up here trying to, or supposedly telling them that this has got to be done and nothing's done. Now we got lands involved in this. Where was lands? What the hell did they do? Not a damn thing. Other than hand out a key. Then we got the water people. Then electrician. Oh, we don't have electrician. Tribe don't have electrician. Well, why didn't you hire an electrician just for that purpose? It's easy to do. It's easy to do. If you don't have them, see if you can get a contractor in here to do that for 3 days, 4 days. Not gonna cost a hell of a lot. You know, if he doesn't do any work, it's not gonna cost anything. But, yeah, when you gotta do this every time you turn around, it gets to really be a pain in the butt. Like I said, I went in, I looked and it was a mess. I don't blame the people for hollering. I don't. And then there's one girl supposedly said she got electrocuted, something like that. From the, I guess she tried to fix things and she turned on the power again and they got shocked. But things like this is what really, really bothers me and even makes it, drive liable. Things happen, something like that. The liability, a big liability issue there. Especially with this electricity. And if they got 220 in there, it is a big liability. I don't know whether they got 220 in there, but that's the kind of hookups they have is for 220 or 240. So I don't know. I don't know why they ever put them in. But it's a pain in the tail, when you got to call and try to talk to them and, okay, we'll get somebody there. We'll get somebody there. Who shows up? Not a soul. Like tribal police said, hey, we only seen one maintenance man come through the gate. That's what they told me Sunday. So I don't know, Tony, it's just something else. I appreciate what you're saying. I really do. That you're gonna do this and do that. But why wait till the last 2 weeks of the damn power to try to get something done every year? And you got all year to do it. I can see winter time, but you can't do anything in winter time. But you got all fall, rest of the summer, all fall, spring. Nothing done.
And that's exactly what we're trying to tackle now. It's just, there was nobody directed or nobody's departments in charge of that. So we are now, trying to we're figuring that out. And so now we're starting to do that progress now. And, we plan on talking, Lands is gonna call in the committee and trying to go over kind of, okay, what do you guys see this year? What upgrades do we need? Where do we go? And build a plan with that committee to see what kind of issues were going on. We tried to get an electrician on call. No contractor would do it. And so we try to work with SK Housing to get some of their people on call also. I hear you 100% Bing, and it wasn't on my radar as we're vets until too late. And so, we're working on it now, and I'll be there to help fix this situation moving forward. And some of the plumbing, like I said, it's past capacity. And so why the toilets were leaking is because it was grabbing sand from the well, and it was vetting into the system, and that's where it causes the leaks. And so if we don't have enough storage capacity to handle the peak flow, then it's gonna push out issues. And so we need to build that storage capacity to be able to manage the peak flow of the powwow. And so that's gonna be the one big thing, and that's what SKMM, and I'll look at SKMM's contract of what they were entailed to do. So we're not trying to cross paths, but make sure what they're doing lines up with what we need, and then what Lions need to do to follow up on that.
Go ahead, Bing.
I believe SKMM, all they did was just worked on the concession stands. Put the new, petitions and whatnot in there. That's all they did. Nothing like else I could see, other than putting the blacktop down, having blacktop put down, and people really appreciate that, because of wheelchairs and stuff got going out through there. They had no problem with that, and it was great that they had that there. But those two things, you know, I mean, there was no maintenance. I don't believe that any, they were involved with, so.
We do have Antoine, Barnaby, Jamila, James, and Charlie. Quick, Sue, go ahead and come up, please.
You're gonna have to say a little louder, Mike.
Come on up. Yep, come on up. Good morning. It says you have some safety concerns you wanted to talk about. We need you to turn the mic on in front of you. There you go.
Good morning. My name is Jamila, and I'm the lady that had the Awesome Aunties Eats booth this weekend. And I'm the one that had 2 employees get electrocuted from an outlet that wasn't being used. I hired my own electrician to come in to look at it to try to make it usable for the weekend. I'm a little hoarse from yelling over a generator to my crew to pump out good food, so I apologize for that. On Sunday, we arrived early. Some of you may have known me from handling corporate accounts for the tribe in the past. Some of you may know me from doing empowerment expos to combat suicide with our youth. And the whole point of every business I do is to empower the kids here, to show them that there's something besides drugs and alcohol. And I'm sorry if I'm a little emotional today. I had a crew of misfits, if you will. That's who I work with. That's who I show by role modeling, that there's something better than drugs and alcohol out there. And that high they chase, they can get from working hard because they feel good when they work hard. And let me tell you, my crew worked hard. I had 10 kids that worked 108 hours this week. Don't tell me that's not working hard. On Sunday, we discovered the major electrical issue in there. It has a 220 amp. It should. Kitchen gear takes a lot of equipment. But the port that was put in there was installed for dryers. It is illegal to create a pigtail from a dryer port down to 4 110s. If it wasn't a 220 dryer port, you could walk into any hardware store and buy a converter without a problem. The other problem that we had in there is you could not use more than 1 outlet on each wall without causing a breaker shortage. So the proposed solution, when I brought it forth to Wendy and Quinnell, I mean, I understand they're not electricians, and I understand there was no electrician. So I'm not placing blame there. What they told me was, Jamila, we don't know who we're gonna reach, we're trying. We don't know how to fix this. So I said, okay, you try and I'll call somebody in and see what we can do to be operational. That's what I did. I got a hold of All Brands out of Missoula. I come with a lot of corporate experience. I was a VP of sales for Toshiba for many years. There's not a business in this state that I don't know the owner of. So I called up the owner of All Brands and I said, I have a problem and I know it's 4 o'clock on the 3rd of July and nobody wants to deal with me right now, but I really need a solid one. So he got on Zoom with me and I showed him the problem. And he said, nobody can convert that. It's illegal in the United States to have a converter from a dryer port out. It would be really simple to fix that back wall solution. All you got to do is change the port from a dryer port to a traditional 220 port, but you need an electrician to do that. The other problem in those booths is they're not GSN wired. Kitchen gear requires GSN network wiring so that they don't blow sparks when they have peak ampage. It's another simple solution. It's not very expensive, but you gotta have an electrician do it. So I came here. I could easily complain about a lot of things, but that doesn't provide a solution to anything. And I think everybody here today knows there's a problem. But I think we have solutions that people aren't even looking at as a possible solution yet. There is a lot of work that needs to be done at that powwow grounds, and there isn't a whole lot of money to do it. But I think we all know we have some very skilled individuals who deserve a second chance at life, and they owe the courts a lot of money. Seems like that might be a win-win solution. They could work off their debt and put some pride into this arbor. So there's nobody outside this tribe that is going to come in and be as vested as our own members are. So I think there's a way. I think there's a real way to turn this whole thing into a solution that empowers all the people here. But there's got to be a way to bridge those gaps. And we are very lucky that I'm not here discussing a fatality today. I had a young lady named Shyla Schleeker. She's not Native. I was a Girl Scout leader for a lot of years, and she was one of my Girl Scouts. So she always wants to work for me, and any kid that's ever worked with me has a home with me always. So she was working on that fryer when that spark flew from the outlet that nobody was using, and it hit that port that the fryer was plugged into. Her father, Chet Schleeker, used to be on the Arlee Fire Department. He was standing right there when it happened, and he was able to immediately disengage and ground that. That's the only reason we don't have a fatality today. And that scares the heck out of me, you guys. That's a serious problem, but it doesn't have to be an expensive solution. I had a lot of people ask me, why didn't you just quit then? Why? I'm trying to empower these kids. I have 2 kids on the Spoxon Clinic, and they're doing really good with their sobriety. This is something they look forward to. They're not going to learn how to overcome adversity if somebody doesn't hold their hand and teach them. That's why they fell down into addiction in the first place. So quitting wasn't an option. Instead, what I did do is I went and took out a loan. And I went and bought all new equipment to run off of propane. So these kids could see that you just, when one door closes, you find another and you just keep on going. Quitting's not an option. So I want to share with you what we did. On Monday, before powwow even started, people were requesting us to go ahead and open. I was doing training with my crew. I jokingly said after the 7th person requested we cook, if one more person asks, we'll go ahead and open and do burgers and hot dogs. So we did. We ended up opening. We did $600 in sales on Monday before anybody showed up. On Tuesday, again, Campers Day, not very many people there yet, $2,500 in sales. On Wednesday, we did $8,000 in sales. On Thursday, the day that I shut down early because of the electrical, we did $10,000 in sales by 4 p.m. before I shut down. So I took all that money and took the kids. I had one crew redo the kitchen, strip it, get all the grease out of there in case that electrical sparked again, there'd be nothing it could ignite. Took the kitchen crew and we went and bought every propane fire we could find. I spent $7,161.62 on fryers that day. We came back and my crew pumped out 2,500 pounds worth of potatoes and French fries and 600 pounds of bluebird flour and fry bread. We didn't make our money back from our equipment, but my crew got paid and they're ready to work hard. And they now see that just because something happens, there's always a way if you just look through it. So I'm not going to quit. And I'm not going to quit on seeing this powwow get better either. You know, my concern, there's a major safety concern here, but there's 2. The health department shared with me, I was the only one to get an A+ rating. Every other food vendor there was checked 3 times a day and they still didn't pass inspection because of food safety. That's part of the bathroom issue. Foodborne illness creates a lot of issues in that bathroom. I think that committee needs to have future accountability on that. Have somebody on the committee that oversees those vendors that knows how to do inspections and teach them, hey, it's time to take a temp. Let's see where you're at. Sorry, that's not safe to serve. We're going to have to start again. Somebody to help show them, because nobody wants to make people sick. That's nobody's intent. But there's got to be some leadership there so that the standard is a little bit better. My other concern is the culture. Powwow is part of culture, but culture is not powwow. And these powwows here, these big ones, Elmo and Arlie, that's a chance for our tribe to share appropriate culture. Not everything is appropriate to share with outsiders. Some of our stuff needs to be left holy, but some of our culture needs to be shared so they understand what it really is. And I think that would empower our people too. I was talking to Charlie last night about when we were kids. Campers Day, they had that big feed back by the creek. They cook a bison in the ground. Now, these things are important for empowering the people. And if you communicate and you network with other businesses here on the reservation, whether tribal or not, the support would be amazing. And the tax benefits for our non-tribal members to help us is also amazing. And it doesn't have to cost the tribe a thing. You know, from the time we were little, Charlie and I, we were raised the same way. He was groomed his entire life. He was mentored his entire life for this. And I really encouraged him to come today because I think we're missing the culture. Where's the voice of the elders? Where's the voice of our culture? Where was anything that was represented as the Salish people? Why is there not a local artist vendor row between Stick Game and Powwow that allows our local beaters to have a $20 booth a day if they wish to showcase their artwork? They can't afford those vendor fees, I'm telling you. I've been a vendor at Powwow the last 3 years with my jewelry business and with the food business. That's not okay. I have a lot of respect for Loretta Hoots and how she handles Elmo. She's very strict and it's good. And I think we need to see some of that in our lease so our culture shines. You know, and I hope you guys would listen to Charlie and his proposed idea, because powwow should be a source of empowerment for all of our people, even those struggling with addiction. It should be a source where they could feel a renewed strength in their culture and in their tribe. And it should be a chance for them to work their butts off to prove to this tribe that they're not the Neanderthal that the community has seen them be because they've made poor choices. And so, yeah, I'm a little bit miffed at how I was treated by the committee. I'm not going to lie. I hired a kid. I caught his hand in my tail. I fired him. I was going to bring it up with his parents till they attacked my daughter. And there's videos that were sent to me that they were waiting till I left my booth so they could. So I was going to try to work with the parents. Instead, I turned in all the paperwork to Law and Order to pursue felony charges. There's $4,700 that was skimmed out of my till. And it doesn't really matter who it was or whose kid it was. What matters is the lack of accountability. And where is the integrity? This is supposed to be a reflection for all of us. And we have a lot of room to improve on. I'm happy to answer any questions on the electrical concerns and what happened. It was my kids that it happened to.
Thank you, Ms. James. Charlie, did you want to add anything?
You know, just with what has been said about all these electrical problems, like's been said, the plugins that are down there to run washer and dryers. And like being said, you know, we tried to get converters to plug into these washer and dryer outlets so that we can run our grease
dryers and whatever we needed to run for our booth, you know, and we couldn't even do that. And, you know, every year it's talked about, we're gonna get this fixed so we don't have this problem next year, but it seems like it's always ongoing every year where we have to fight to try to make a living, you know. There could be a lot of money off of these things, and we had to shut down for hours because we couldn't operate. We couldn't use our grease dryers. It's a darn good thing there's propane, you know, or we would have had to probably shut down for good. And we had to go buy a ton of propane tanks. We had blacktop grills, you know, that we're using that were off a propane tanks, and we had you know, fridges and freezers to keep stuff cold, and there was times where those didn't even have power to run those. And you know, we ran extension cords to do what we could, and you know, that kept, even our extension cords kept kicking the power, and we, you know, just doing what we could. And you know, like we lost money because we had to shut down. And like I said, every year it said that, oh, we'll have it done by next year. And it's always waited till the last minute to even start getting these repairs done. And you know, it shouldn't even be like that. We should just be able to go in there and do our stuff and without problems. And we had to rent a generator. We rented a generator even to, you know, so we had power to our stand. And so, you know, like I said, we shouldn't have to do that. It should, you know, even we shouldn't have to fight to make a little bit. So, you know, that's what I had to say about that.
Thank you, Charlie. James?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. One thing I would like to say is a lot of this has been going on, unfortunately, for 20, 30, 40, and 50 years. I see Ruth shaking her head from our committee days back when, and that's sad. I mean, somehow or another, we haven't learned how to fix this problem, and it's not Lisa and Tony, not you in particular. This is something that's been going on for years and years and years before you two were in your position. So we need to do something different. And I appreciate Charlene Jamelia for you coming. I think one thing I would like to suggest is that we definitely need an electrical, whatever the proper term is, electrical analysis of the powwow grounds, particularly this building, and do it right. Get an electrician out there to evaluate it and give some recommendations for what we need to and I think it would be helpful to have a vendor out there to say, hey, here's what we're practically needing. And, you know, it's unfortunate that you had to hire your own electrician, but I mean, when you're wanting to do work and provide a product and food and such, you want to do it in a safe manner and have your workers safe. So, you know, I'm sorry that your workers and your kids were shocked. And so it's not acceptable. We need to do it differently, and we need to make the changes appropriately. And so, you know, I appreciate Councilman Matt's comments. We need to do something different. And I appreciate you, Tony, making that commitment to say we need to do something different. We need to do it immediately, as best, as expeditiously as we can. But those are my comments. I appreciate your words, and I appreciate all the hard work that you put in and the folks that you have employed, because, you know, like you said, I appreciate you saying a group of misfits, meaning people that everybody looks down on, society puts in the corner, you know, people that don't have a chance a lot of times. So I appreciate you doing that and giving them that opportunity and showing them, you know, putting folks like that to work, it boosts their confidence like you said, and they grew up in the middle of a problem, they go to bed in the middle of a problem, and you're troubleshooting, giving them opportunities to realize, hey, this door might close, but let's figure out another way to do it. So I appreciate you doing that, Lanesh.
Any other remarks? Go ahead, Tom, then Carol.
I want to thank you for bringing up the issue with the vendors. I know that that's, it's a key component of some of the fundraising for, helping to cover the cost of the entire celebration event, but I would really appreciate, a discount for our local membership. They're artists and craftspersons, and they can put that out there, especially things that they produce versus, well, all the other vendors could be there too. It's just, let's make the space available and let's offer a really good discount for our own membership, the things that they are creating and would like to showcase and hopefully even make a sale. So thank you for bringing that up. I concur with that completely.
Thank you, Tom. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, when we were looking at the Quonset huts or the buildings down at Kicking Horse, they brought in, an architect brought in numerous specialists that could look at and, probably redesign and do what they need to do to get it fixed up, even though at that point they said it would cost a lot of money. I think we do the same thing for the powwow grounds, is bring in a architectural firm that can look at electrical, the water, and redo it all, and then work with Ruth to find the money, and then also hire somebody. We really need to hire somebody to manage this whole thing, because like Tony said, you have one person doing this and other. It's nobody's fault. I don't blame anybody here, and I feel sorry for the Matt family because I know how hard they worked. I know that they have the best, the people's interest at heart. And so I don't blame anybody. I just think it's time that we get it done. I think we should just bulldoze the whole thing. I can even tell you the campers were even having issues with the power. Some people's campers were going off and stuff. And of course they had food in their locations too. So I think we almost need to start over. There was talk of bringing in trailers for bathrooms because they have those portable bathrooms and portable showers. That probably should have been done, but of course we wait till the last minute and there's no fires going on, so I know they were probably available. But anyway, I just want to say that I apologize for any inconvenience. I mean, you're there to work, you're there to make money for school clothes and living through the year, and so I really feel bad for your situation, and whatever we can do to correct it. I think we again are on a mission. I've heard this every year, me and James, hearing it every year that we've been on the council. It needs to be done. I think this is the year though. It's time to stop messing around.
Well,
It's getting bigger.
a solution personally for me for the mishap with the booth and all the extra gear would be the ability to use one of the lands for this crew to cook throughout the summer. It would offer them employment all year that way. Everybody on my team is fully licensed through both the tribe and the state. It was a mandate of mine. But being that we're tribal, I think that it would be good if they could just set up their booth at a tribal spot and try to make this money back from the gear because they're ready to work.
Well, thank you, Jamila. We've heard you and agree with so much. And Charlie, thank you for coming in today.
If I could ask one more question, Maynard Kicking Woman is a personal friend of mine, and I think he's been a friend of this nation for at least all of my life. He traveled because of the advertised Elder Day pay, and he knew he'd have the money to return home. The elders weren't paid what was advertised. I don't know, I'm not an elder what they were really paid, but I've heard from several. And I personally helped him get home because he didn't have the gas to get home. I've never seen him so deflated looking. That's really sad to me. And, you know, once an accusation of misuse of funds is made, it's really hard to overcome that, whether it's true or not, really isn't the point. And I think a lot of transparency would help prevent those accusations moving forward. I don't know what the policy is on it, but I know one of the things we discussed is that it should be public information. Committee, whoever the committee is, should be reporting to the chairman each subcommittee weekly. And the chairman should be reporting to council on where they're at with everything. That's kind of the point of a powwow committee, is so that council doesn't have to oversee every detail. But you guys need to know. And so I would like to offer my help any way I can. I have done a ton of corporate contracts. I came in here in 2013 and found where a previous vendor was taking advantage of the tribe and redid the contract where it saved $1.2 billion in 2 years to the tribe. And so if any of my services could be utilized, I would be willing to offer them. It's time for us to show who we really are and to give our people a chance to show pride in that. We're really missing that. And I think that's the missing component in our drug and alcohol issue also. Before I did corporate stuff, I was an old drug cop, so I have my own opinion on that too. It goes hand in hand. And I think there's a serious solution. And it starts with our culture. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer?
I was gonna say I had Mark Mature here for your question earlier. James?
Thank you, Jamelia and Charlie. Yeah, have a good day. Mark, we had a question this morning about a property. I'm wondering, is that a executive session question? James was requesting an update on the Corville property, and maybe you can give that to him outside of council.
I would say executive, just because of the dollars and everything that we'll be talking about. Any of
I
that.
can have him come back at the end of the day right after legal.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
Clint?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark, if you can stick around. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. I just have a few issues here, in regards to, Elmo. So last week or a week and a half ago, we had the land staff, go in and change the frost free up at the Elmo Powell grounds, right above the dance harbor.
Correct.
This morning, they, went and checked it. There was no water running. So if we can get somebody up there to take a look, I don't know the specifics. That's all I was told, was that there was no water, running through that frost free this morning. So if we can have somebody go take a look at that.
Do you know if there was water running through the rest of the Powell grounds? Because I know that's on a
I don't-
housing water unit.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Okay.
So if we can check, get that looked at this morning, we sure
I
appreciate
got
it.
crews up there right now, so
Okay.
I can have them run out and take a look.
Yesterday, I was notified that the Elmo dugouts collapsed. Okay, so we're gonna be having a co-ed softball tournament coming up here at the Elmo Powwow. And so we're kind of scrambling around to try to look at ideas on how we're going to either rebuild or figure out something temporary. But we may have to utilize the community enhancement fund to get this done in a timely manner. So if we can work with, I notified Tony last night. Tony might already have some ideas, but I just wanted to let council know that we have that dilemma here coming, and we need to address that ASAP.
We on the dugout issue, we got our crew up there right now cleaning up the mess and coming up with a plan on rebuild canopy pop-ups with shade, other potential issues right now. So we are looking at that and the baseball fence line too, because it was brought to our attention that there might be a couple of the split rail fence needs to be replaced and the fence needs to be pulled up.
Thank you.
Yeah, our crew's already up there on it right now, Len.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Another issue. So last week, I discussed the issue with the tribal elder, rental dilemma and where she's renting a property in Hot Springs. She wants to come in on Thursday morning as a walk-in and have more discussion about that. There were some other issues that she needs to discuss with council, so I invited her to come in. And also, today, at some point in time, I would like to have the discussion with council about moving forward with the proposal from Ralph Foster. I don't know if y'all had a chance to take a look at his proposal. I think it's something that we need to move on and start that process of either negotiating with him, but I just don't want to put this issue up any longer. I think we need to either we're going to do it or we don't. But I think this is a very vital service that we need to provide for our people. So I'd like to have that discussion today sometime throughout the day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Len. That takes care of our issue. Let's take 5-minute break and then we'll get on with our agenda. 5 minutes and we'll be back.
Chair.
Go ahead, Tom.
So I got a point of order. There's this birthday cake sitting back there and I wanted to have some of it, but I need to be able to sing happy birthday to those people before I can cut into it. So there's 3 birthdays. Jennifer Trahan, J. Blue Arley, and Danielle Matt. So I'm going to refer them to as et al. So if you guys would help me sing happy birthday to them, I'd appreciate it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear et al. Happy birthday to you. Jay Blue, Jennifer, and Danielle.
Thank you.
Natalie, come on up. Good morning.
You're welcome. I'm here to present present a resolution for the food distribution programs FY 25 budget for council approval. Okay. Okay, and there's also a letter attached for a waiver of the 25%. They ask for 25%, but we assist almost as many non-members as members, so we're requesting a waiver to that 25%. And thank you.
Jody, come on up. Good morning.
Okay, so we would like to apply for FY 24 Indian Community Development Block Grant. And this would be to develop, well, it would just be installing the infrastructure on the property that the tribe built. Yep, just it was from Dwayne Smith. It's called Majestic View Estates. And the original property was plotted for 72 very tight homes. And so I was talking with Mark and he had said that nobody wanted them that tight. It's out of town on the other side of Montana Avenue. And so we were thinking of putting in maybe half of those. And so everyone would have a yard. And so I wanted to make sure you guys were on board with that. It would be helpful for us on a finance side. So we have to pay impact fees for every single hookup, and it's a total of 5,000 for water and sewer. And I think Nolan said there's 40 more hookups left for water, and then they are going to have to put another level on their water tank, Pablo Water and Sewer. And so I don't know how long it would take for them to do that. So it would be kind of shooting ourselves in the foot if we try to put them all in and then we don't have the water supply to do that. The grant itself is only $2 million. And so after we do the IDC and the personnel, we have about 1.55 left for the actual work, and that has to cover the architect engineering, all the installation, the power, everything, the roads. So it would be helpful if we don't have to do all those hookups too, but we will do as you guys desire.
Questions for Jody?
Make the motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion by James to approve the authorizing Salish and Kootenai Housing Authority to submit fiscal year 2024 Indian Community Block Grant. For second by Tom, and that's for infrastructure for, you're talking about 36 units.
We'll work with the engineer to see how many we can do. We'll do 2 phases. In this first phase, we will do as much as we can with the grant.
All in favor? Unanimous. And I see you have a second resolution.
Thank you. Yes, this grant also requires citizen participation, similar to all the other grants that we've been submitting. And because this is due next Monday, we are open for public comment. We aren't going to have an actual public meeting like we did for the Price grant, but we will send out a flyer now that we have authorization to apply, soliciting for email comments. And we'll also put it on our Facebook page.
Motion.
Motion by Tom, to approve
Yeah.
the citizen participation, required by the same grant. Second by Jennifer, all in favor? Unanimous.
Excellent, thank you. And just while I'm here, I just had one other thing. This morning, I was on a permanent supportive housing call with the Defender's Office and the consultants. And we have an opportunity to apply for an Indian Housing Block Grant, competitive grant, which isn't due until the end of August. But it's $5 million, and they are having a hard time with security issues where the Morningstar is. And so we were hoping to apply for that and to build it where supportive housing was earmarked by the Ronan Tribal Health Clinic. You know, there were, I think, 3 different buildings that were earmarked for supportive housing. But it's only 5 million. And if we have to put in the infrastructure to the building and then build it, it's not going to be enough. And so I was wondering if you guys were on board for doing this, if there was any funding that you had access to help supplement the budget so that we could do it in a way that worked for theirs. So they would have a secure entrance and they would have community space. And with my grant, I can't do any community space, only the apartments. And so if the tribe, and you guys can talk about it later if you want, but if you guys could do for the community section, and then we would do the apartments with the grant. But I think we're gonna meet next week with the architect and engineering firm to start putting their vision on paper. But I know it's gonna be more than 5 million because just the cost of development right now is outrageous. So I told him I'd run it by you guys to see if, I didn't know if you guys had any ARPA dollars left. Was hoping you guys had a purse available.
Go ahead, Carol.
Maybe we can contract with Rick to find, because, you know, he's good at this kind of thing, to be able to find funding to
Finance.
do this thing. And now we have nobody that I know that could focus on something like this. Definitely, it's something that we definitely need. But I don't know, sometimes I think we shoot ourselves in the foot, and now we're kind of, I don't know, maybe there's some firm out there we can hire, I don't know, but how about tax credits?
So we could apply for tax credits, but this application is due the end of next month. And if we applied for tax credits, they're only open a certain time of the year. So it wouldn't align, but I could tell them that you guys are open for us applying and finding other sources, but that you didn't have any to contribute for this. And I haven't heard about the transitional supportive housing that you guys had committed $2 million to. So if for some reason that one isn't, potentially we could use that for this project. It's similar purpose. And then I had also thought about the Morningstar right now. That would be available, and maybe DHRD could use that for those hotel vouchers. Instead of having people stay at Quatucknuck, they could be at those Morningstar for emergency housing.
Go ahead, Martin.
Do you have an idea for the public space, like the amount, the 2 million, is that what your ballpark is, or?
Well, 2 million, we would do what we can, but so what they're doing right now is doing like what their vision would be, and then we're going to meet with the architect and see, you know, what would that be? But usually you shoot for the stars and then you take what you can. But in my mind, we would probably need 3 million.
Any other thoughts? Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thank you. Just kind of related to this, you know, one of the things that we talked about with Greg the last time we went with him is the need for a development officer. So I would just kind of like to know kind of where we internally, I think we have to have that discussion where we are with that. Because this is the second project that came up today that I think would be really appropriate for a development person to raise money for our own infrastructure needs. So.
Yeah, and I agree. I was just hoping you guys had ARPA dollars.
I know.
That was like the best. We wouldn't have had the first one without the CARES dollars. And, you know, we won't have transitional supportive housing without the ARPA doing the leverage. So it's been helpful for me to have progress with housing and supportive housing.
Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think at this point in time, if I recall what Greg said, there's like 160,000 left that's unobligated. But as we move forward to our deadline, there's going to be some adjustments because we have to obligate everything this year.
Okay,
So there could be something there.
but probably not 3 million.
Don't know
Unless
that.
we go after tribal health.
Okay, well, and,
Our tribal health has that.
okay,
They do. ARPA funding
all right.
sitting there
I'll call Joe.
along with a whole bunch of other money.
All right. So thank you for that lead.
Definitely, I think we're interested, so.
Okay, all right, well, that's the path we'll go and see where the final budget goes. And I had told them too, we could do our own capital campaign like the Boys and Girls Club did. And they were able to raise significant funds with that. And I think once we get the concept out, people like Montana Healthcare Foundation and other organizations that want to support tribes and supportive housing, they'll have something to buy into too. Okay, all right, well, thank you very much and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
We got Blair Libby, Evan Smith, and Rusty. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of council. Environmental Protection Division has 2 collection permits to bring to you and a request for funding. So I'll start off with Blair Libby.
Hi, council. Thanks for having me. Haven't been here before. I'm the Wetlands Program Manager in the Division of Environmental Protection. I've been working for the tribes for 2.5, 3 years. And currently the Wetlands Program, and historically for the past 20 years, has been funded by EPA Wetland Program Development Grants. These are competitive funding and they usually run for about 2 or 3 years. And this funding will end at the end of the fiscal year on September 30th. So I'm here today to ask for a signed resolution of support for a different grant. It's the Columbia River Restoration Fund. This is on page 7, by the way, the agenda request form. And that opportunity would be for 2 years, fiscal year 25 and 26. It would be about $200,000 max. And the great thing about this grant is that the funds would be awarded hopefully by October 1st. They have a really quick turnaround time. And without this, there would be no funding allocated for the wetlands program. That's a couple contractors, that's my position. That will all end on September 30th. So this was a really fantastic opportunity. It would help support some wetland assessments in the Mission watershed next summer. And hopefully it would also be some work on the Lower Flathead Rivers Cultural Waterways Ordinance Management Plan related to wetlands in that corridor. And I think that's it, and I can answer any questions you all have.
Questions? Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So EPA does not discontinue the program?
EPA still has wetland program development grants, but they are very behind in announcing an notice of funding opportunity.
Is it your intention to apply for that when it comes out also?
That is a possibility. Right now, if they were to bring it out tomorrow, we probably wouldn't see funding until next July. So that'd be a huge gap. So EPA is just kind of sitting on it. I don't know if it's political, why they have the money. We just don't know why they haven't released that yet.
Mr. Chair, I think the Columbia River Restoration Fund is a good bridge funding. So I would make that motion.
Motion by Tom, approve the resolution to support going after Columbia River Restoration Fund grant. Second by Jennifer. All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, Blair.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chairman and Tribal Council. My name is Evan Smith. I'm the Program Manager for Water Quality. And today I'm just going over a really simple request. We have a company that wants to do some sampling just above a reservation on the west side. This is not on the reservation. What they're proposing actually is for some water sampling for a year. And this is just kind of do a baseline to see if they're affecting our waters. So this is not an approval for any kind of mining on the reservation because it is off the reservation. So this proposal is very simple. It's just for them to show us some water sampling so we'll be able to get some data from them. So this isn't any kind of a proposal for any kind of mining on the reservation whatsoever. We don't have any ability to prevent that, but what we do have is the ability from this to gather some information on how they can be affecting our waters. So what they're proposing is just a once a month for 12 months, do some sampling on a reservation waters just to see if they are affecting our waters. So right now, with their action request is just council approval for a collection permit for these water samples from this company for 12 months.
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Evan, this is the company that's doing the exploring for, is it, are we talking about critical mineral elements?
Just all minerals. They're just kind of looking to see what's out there.
So they're going to be critiquing their own impact to the Sullivan Creek that drains into the Little Bitterroot River?
So this will be off reservation. We're hoping that nothing's affecting our waters, but they definitely are protecting themselves by collecting a baseline to make sure that they're not affecting any waters when they do sample.
So the baseline sampling is before they have any activity?
Yep, they won't be doing any sampling probably for another year or two.
Okay.
Because this is a 12-month study just to beforehand, just to protect themselves legally.
Mr. Vice Chair, so for background, this is at the Hog Heaven Mining District off reservation. So they are looking to bring that back. A company called Brixton Metals has bought Hog Heaven. They're doing exploration as we speak. They've done some ground penetrating radar and coring to see what is in the ground and if it's mineable. Mostly what's come out of Hog Heaven is copper, silver, and gold. So this is within the Sullivan Creek drainage. So we've seen mining impacts in that Sullivan Creek drainage because of Hog Heaven when it was running. So there is some baseline data that we have as a water quality program. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to sample near Nirata on Sullivan Creek to get a good baseline of what it is now. So in the future, they can have that as in their back pocket, saying, well, this is what the levels were back then, and we're not violating any kind of, we haven't risen above or done any anti-degradation of that creek. We do have our own water quality standards, so that's through the EPA. So we can enforce them, those standards on what they're doing. However, because they're off reservation, the Montana DEQ permits that mine, we do not. So that's some background.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So What is the safeguards then for to make sure that their accuracy is there? Because this is them producing their own standard.
Right. So within the document here, they have a sample analysis plan. We can go out with them and actually observe how they're collecting these samples. And based off of that, whatever chemical lab they're sending it to, we can ask for their quality assurance project plan or their QAP and make sure that they're following all the standards that we follow. So those some of the safeguards that we have to make sure that they're collecting it right and that we approve of the data.
So you have oversight of the chain of custody. So you can watch them do the sample, seal it up, and send it off to the lab that's appropriate.
Yes.
And see the results.
Yes. And we can also do our own sampling.
Motion.
Motion by Tom to approve the mineral sampling, water sampling by Ivanhoe Electric. Do I see a second? Second by James. All in favor? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4. How many, anybody opposed? Len, Carol? Len and Carol opposed. Go ahead, Len.
I think projects such as this, especially, since it's so close to our reservation boundary, something like this should go to our culture committees and have this company explain to them exactly what they are going to do and why this information is necessary before we approve any types of these permits. Because this is a future mining operation. That's what this is. So, thank you.
Thank you, Len. Go ahead, Carol.
After what happened at Chief Cliff, and it just kind of snowballed after a while, and I also know back in the day, I don't know how long ago, maybe 20 years, we took a vote as a council to do no mining on the reservation. I understand this is not on the reservation, but still, I think it definitely needs to go to the elders because they were really upset back in the day, and so I agree with Lynn.
Mr. Chair, this project was also brought to the Reservation Review Board last week. So the culture committees were notified, as well as the Preservation Office and most of our Natural Resource Department. So we're going through those steps, and we can bring this to Culture Committee and kind of give an update of what's going on and how Ivanhoe is working with us, or at least keep us informed. The last time we talked with them, they think that it's maybe next 8 years, 10 years, that if it is mineable, that they'll start developing it. So, thank you.
So that vote, Abby, was 7-4 and 2 opposed. Len and Carol opposed. Passes. Thank you. Thank you, Evan. I guess
Thank you.
Rusty's next.
If Rusty doesn't mind, since I'm up here, can I jump on mine real quick? Page 49. This is also a collection permit from Philip Larson from Minnesota State University. In Camas Prairie, there's these landforms called the mega ripples that were formed when Glacial Lake Missoula was there. What they want to do is they want to come in and do some drone work of the site, as well as some collection of sediment, and then do some ground penetrating radar. And this collection permit is for work of a graduate student that wants to kind of compare Camas Prairie mega ripples with Lake Superior. So that's what the thesis is. They'll collect data in 2024. The thesis will come out in 2025, and we will get our report then. So this is a collection permit for Philip Larson to collect data of geological landforms and sediment on the reservation.
Questions? Entertain a motion to allow collection on Camas Prairie with respect to, finding out how old these ripples are. By
Mega
Mr.
ripples.
Larson. Motion by Bing. Second by Tom. All in favor? Unanimous. Again, we'll see some activity on Camas Prairie.
Yeah. Thank you, council.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, fellow council members. I'm going to give you some brief background on a project we're proposing to monitor a native plant in the Nirada area that's listed as threatened under the Endangered Species Act. And the work that I'm going to discuss with you today will be primarily conducted by the Montana Native Heritage Program. The tribes in the Montana Natural Heritage Program have worked off and on since around 2004 to conduct these not annual, but we do sort of concentrated monitoring periods, and we've done several since 2004. So I'm here to talk to you today about getting a natural resources collection permit approved for this work. This project was taken before the Research Review Board last week and approved. So the RRB has seen this project. If approved, this work would start later this month, and then it would be conducted for a couple of weeks, the last week of July, and then the first week of August. And then we would do a similar sampling effort next summer and then the summer after. So this would be a 3-year project, but it would be a very concentrated monitoring period each summer. If I can, Jennifer, can I switch over to that PowerPoint? Okay. I just wanted to give you the PowerPoint so you can get a little bit better idea of where I'm talking about. So again, this is yeah. Okay. So again, this work is being proposed in the Nirada area, and the bulk of the monitoring work would occur where I've got those call outs, the Sullivan Gulch populations and the Crosson Valley populations. And where we'll be sampling are those small polygons that are outlined in yellow. But we will be looking at some of these outlying populations as well, like over in the Hog Heaven area, and then some of the areas just west of the Nirada area. And I did want to mention that over the past couple of years, these restricted areas have been designated for Hog Heaven and the Big Draw area. And we will be proposing work in these restricted areas. But if this project is approved, I will work with the tribal game warden staff to make them aware of our presence when we're in these restricted areas. My main purpose here was to ask permission or ask approval for the collection permit, and I also wanted to tack on to that. There will be 2 employees from the Heritage Program that will be conducting this work. I will be assisting them as well. And I wanted to ask approval to waive the 2 employees from the Natural Heritage Program getting a conservation permit. They won't be recreating while they're here. They'll be working long days in these areas to get this data collected as quickly as possible. So they won't be recreating. They'll just be here to do the sampling work. And then they'll go back to Helena where they typically work.
Questions? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Rusty said they've been doing this since 2004. What is the trend? Is there any loss of plant community or gain or?
No, they've pretty much seen things kind of holding their own, especially in these two kind of larger population areas across On Valley and Sullivan Gulch. We've noticed a little bit of a decrease in some of these outlying populations just because they're just not as robust. The population size is pretty small. Another thing, we were really curious to look at some of those smaller populations in the Hog Heaven area due to the Elmo fire and see what effects the Elmo fire from a couple of years ago had. We're assuming that fire would benefit this species, so we're curious to see about that. But for the most part, we've seen these populations holding their own. They're really we're at the extreme sort of northeastern edge of this species range. So it is a little precarious because of kind of being on the edge here and with climate change and other threats. But we've seen these populations really holding their own. And I will add that these populations occur in nearly pristine Palouse Prairie remnants. They're high up on these mostly treeless ridges in the area, and it's a really impressive area for native plant diversity.
I'd entertain a motion for the collection permit. Motion by Martin, second by Bing. For the collection permit, also granting permission for them to collect in the restricted area, the Big Draw restricted area, waiving the rec permits for the 2 workers. We're okay there? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Rusty.
All right, thank you, Council. And I left the application with Jennifer. For how to. There we go. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, James.
if I may, I'd like to change my vote to no on that last issue.
Abby James is voting no for the permit to go after the, what is this, the Spalding catch fly? Morning whisper.
Pasquax Passia,
Very.
we're still in the morning.
A little bit left.
Yep. We bring up our pages, please. Thank you. We're here to talk to you about recreation regulations. I'll let Carrie start since hers was the very beginning part. We're starting on page 60 and then moving to page 61.
Good morning. We are proposing for this first agenda item
approval of our Yellowstone bison hunting regulations to go to public comment. And so I believe we've posted you can see on page 61 of your council packet, the changes that are proposed this year. And the only changes are the dates from 2023 and 24 to 2024 and 25. And then you can see the public comment period there, when that would begin and end, and the call for folks on how to submit those, as well as the public account or the in-person hearing. There's a date set for that as well. And so we are asking for approval to submit these for public comment.
Motion by Tom to submit these regs for, second by Danielle, to submit the regs for public comment. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. And next we'll move to the non-member of the CSKT regulation proposals for 2025 and 26, beginning on page 62. We also have probably Les Everett's online, and Carrie's here too to answer any questions. These are just the member regulations. Upon approval here, we will take these to the Flathead Reservation Fish and Wildlife Board for approval and then out to public comment. So I don't have dates on these, as board didn't make it to the last meeting, so we're gonna have to have a special meeting with them after this. So number one is fishing regulations. This is some changes to the standard fishing and possession limits. Currently, we are looking at, some of this is sort of housekeeping. We're looking at making smallmouth bass unlimited everywhere, including Flathead Lake. So you can see that it's struck out in red in Part 3, Section 3H. It's the special section for Flathead Lake. We're removing smallmouth bass limits in that section and making it unlimited everywhere on the reservation.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I think just to articulate, just explain why, I think I know why, but could you just articulate why?
You bet. They're non-native and their populations are growing rapidly. That's pretty much the main one. And if Les has anything that he wants to add to that, we can add.
They're pretty aggressive, right? They eat everything, native fish. I mean, so that's the main thing. They're, what's the word? Predacious? Is that appropriate?
Yes. Here's Les.
Yeah, that's the main problem. The other problem here was that we're trying to clean up the regulations at some point here. So we're looking for consistency. About 2 or 3 years ago, we had fairly liberal limits on them anyway, but not to fool anybody that we're managing for them. We made them unlimited a couple of years ago, but we left the exception for Flathead Lake because the state of Montana had a 15 fish limit. And so we decided to clean that up and just make it reservation wide to better understand to the entire public. So they were, to go back in history, they were introduced illegally in the lower Flathead River, took off, and they weren't above the dam for some time, and eventually they got above the dam, and they're really expanding in the lake now as well. We don't know where that will end, but they're fairly abundant. It's just another predator out there, and inconsistent with our native trout goals.
That Les and his staff had Region 1 Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Fishery staff at the office, and they reviewed the fisheries proposals here that we'll be talking about together to come to consensus on what everybody was going to be supporting for this year's changes. Correct, Les?
Yeah, all right. And they related, there's, I think the next one coming up here is Lake Whitefish. They brought to us this idea. The Lake Whitefish regulation of 100 fish on the lake is pretty high, and that goes back in history quite a ways, where There was a commercial fishery operation on the north end that was buying lake whitefish and marketing and selling them. That's been gone a long time now, and those that were utilizing that just aren't doing it anymore. So they felt lake whitefish was a little bit high, and when we compared our other regulations with theirs, they don't specify it's lake whitefish versus mountain whitefish. We did. They have always just had a whitefish regulation, and so they wanted to reduce that to 20 fish. And we thought our mountain whitefish, which is the native whitefish here on the reservation, was high at 50 fish. So we're just getting rid of the differentiation between the two species, which are, quite frankly, a little hard for most people to tell the difference, and just be consistent with the state of Montana in this case, and just have a whitefish regulation of 20 fish. It's better for the native, and the 100 fish limit just isn't necessary anymore on Flathead Lake.
Crappie have been observed in Kicking Horse Reservoir, probably transported there by a person. They are non-native, and we're promoting unlimited catch on crappie as well.
But Tom?
Yeah, there's been confirmed catches in Flathead Lake of that fish also.
Also a note, sorry, I didn't say this in the beginning, we've taken these proposals to both of the culture committees before we came before you today. They made some comments that we've adjusted a couple things. They didn't have excessive comments on these, but we did go to both culture committees in June so that we could bring these to you, having given them that time. Section 3, page 7 is a format change, and this was Les's proposal as well, and so if I don't to explain it well here, he's here to clean that up for me. But the intent was to take away the language in each of the different reservoirs saying when we would close those based on conditions like we had in Mission Reservoir last year when the water got really low and we had to close that, to just make it all reservoirs have minimum pool requirements for fisheries protection. Should the irrigation project operator fail to maintain the prescribed minimum pool requirements, the fishery will be temporarily closed and announced by press release, and such closures will be posted, rather than putting the feet and of water that the water would be and spreading those out separately. They're all identified in other locations and maybe doesn't need to be all spelled out here.
Yeah, I'd add to this, this also helps us with compact implementation under the compact as we go forward. Some of these minimum pools will be changing over time. So it's just better to state it up front this way, that they have those minimum reservoir restrictions. It's rare anymore that the irrigation project can't maintain them. And when they do tend to accidentally violate them, like you may recall last year on Mission Reservoir, they can usually correct it pretty quick. So it gets it's just typically a mistake that can be corrected pretty quickly anyway. So it's just a lot of verbiage in the regulation, and there's not a good way for people to really understand these different elevations by different reservoirs. So it's just cleans it up to call it this way. If we have to close them because these minimums are violated, we'll just post it and give news releases. It's just a much cleaner way to go, especially in the near future where they may be changing over time. And then this last one, that if you don't have any questions on that, this is again another cleaning up one on Flathead Lake. It's just to strike this exception for Flathead Lake out of here, and it makes it the standard limit that's on the reservation elsewhere. Very similar smallmouth bass. We're just kind of making things more consistent across the board here on the reservation. It's somewhat of a meaningless regulation anyway. You're not going to really catch any rainbow trout in Flathead Lake. And by having this here, it looks as if we're managing for a non-native fish in Flathead Lake. Rainbow trout are non-native. In fact, they're a problem in Flathead Lake, but they're rare. It doesn't happen. We just thought it'd be better to clean this up, make it the standard fishing regulation everywhere, same as everywhere else on the reservation.
Next, page 64. Thank you very much, Les. One of the sections that we have, and this was reconciling with the the tribal member regulations that we upgraded last year, and that's discharging any firearm in any designated campground, trailhead, boat launch, or parking lot. We had previously listed in a negligent manner. I think it was SQCC had mentioned just to take out negligent and say we don't want any non-members shooting around in campgrounds, trailheads, boat launches, or parking lots. Next is restricted areas in the Ferry Basin. I'll let Carrie describe this next section.
Thanks, Whisper. So we are proposing to, so currently there are seasonal closures in Ferry Basin, in the Ferry Basin Wildlife Management Unit from January 1st through May 15th. And this is a recreational closure, which initially was instilled to prevent disturbance to elk during a very sensitive season and time of year. Kind of that's through that really important winter season when that extra disturbance can be in a lot of extra energetic cost during that sensitive time of year. And this was really put into place when our populations in Ferry Basin were very low, and we were very concerned about that additive impact of disturbance during that time. Since then, we have had a recovery of elk in Ferry Basin. We have around 2,000 in there every winter. On our last 2 or 3 year annual flights, they've been above 1,500, and this last year we had 1,998 counted during our flight. And so they do have a recovered population there. And so that additive disturbance from recreation isn't as important now, and so we're proposing to remove that seasonal closure. At the bottom there in highlighted yellow are sort of our justifications on that, and so that additionally in our member regulations right now, right now non-members are excluded from recreation in that area, but tribal members are able to be in that area during this time for recreation, and so that impact or that disturbance is still happening in that area. And so, it doesn't really make sense to have that disturbance eliminate, or if that disturbance is already happening, to kind of not allow non-members in there as well. And so again, that additive disturbance right now for that population isn't as detrimental as it has been in the past. And then another kind of issue with this kind of comes down to enforcement. So technically the roads are BIA roads, and so non-members can access BIA roads during this time, so they can be in there driving around as long as they stay on those main BIA roads. So that impact of their presence, if they were to be in there during this closure, is still there, as long as they don't get out and recreate on the tribal lands there and get off the main BIA roads. Technically they can be in there during this time. And so, just kind of cleaning up some of that, we assess the impacts to elk in this area, and we don't see a need to continue that seasonal closure. Additionally, with our member regulations that would be coming out for this year, we would be removing that horn and shed hunting closure as well, because right now tribal members can recreate in this area during this time, but they can't horn hunt or shed hunt for elk antlers in there. And so this would be removing, and again, that was to, the reason for that was disturbing elk during that time of year. And so since again, we have that recovered population, that we don't think we need that elk shed hunting for members, but that's not part of these regulations. Just letting you know that we are rectifying that in the member regulations as well. And that was it.
Questions? Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It seems like I remember great conflict or perceived conflict with non-members picking up shed antlers in this area. And that was one of the intentions for the closure, was to make sure that the tribal member shed hunter could access the area. And there was documented many cases of people getting in the area and taking out antlers by boat and by other means. So how do we address that issue?
February 1st and May 15th? Oh, not,
Right now, they cannot, yeah. And
so
then
this is this is the updated.
that's what's written in there, and we would just be excluding
Oh,
that.
this would all be gone.
Removed.
Shed hunters. I'm not sure. I think we could talk with Chief McClure and maybe some of the other game wardens about, that as well. Not having non-members in there shed hunting is definitely something that we don't want to promote, but they are already driving on the BIA roads. I mean, it's again, one of those challenges with those roads. I know we're looking at the closure area at language to change that, but I'm not sure that we were looking in this area as well.
And there is a, in the member regulations, a closure for tribal members to be in there. I think they can get in a little earlier than May 15th, but not, maybe just by a couple of weeks. So they're also precluded from shed hunting in this area at that time as well. And so again, the proposal for the member regulations would be to remove that closure so that they can be in there during this time collecting antlers also.
Danielle?
Because I'm with Tom on this one. I'm not really excited about opening it up for the non-tribal members already in there. And if we can keep them out even till the end of May, so our tribal members have more access to gather those sheds during that time. It's a big issue watching them go up there and pull those out, and our tribal members not able to obtain them, so.
And that's definitely something we can keep that regulation in there. We'll just remove anything that says that it's for reduction of disturbing them during a sensitive period. Because if it's not needed for that anymore at this time. But if we want to keep that closure to just not let them in that area during that time for shed hunting, we can address that and amend it to reflect that as well.
James?
Yeah, just a general comment. It just seems like, you know, we do our best to protect our area, and I definitely appreciate everyone's work on these rules and regulations. And when it comes down to the practicality of it, it often is, you know, manpower and catching them right when they're doing it, and those are very challenging, and I get that. But, you know, if an Indian even thought of doing any of this stuff, you know, just right off the bat. So, I'm just kind of wondering, I don't know, I guess it's just frustrating that we don't quite have the manpower to cover all of this, and I get that, but I don't know, I guess I'm just frustrated a little bit by it, as we all are. We're trying to protect it for our own people, and it's not a perfect science or an operation to be able to cover every square piece of property when different parts of our resources are being violated, so. But thank you for the work on these.
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wholeheartedly agree with Carrie that, you know, that our population is very robust with elk. Definitely. I just think I hate to, given the growth of the area, the consideration of recreation, outdoor recreation, what it can be, I am hesitant to remove the non-member restriction on Ferry Basin at this point in time, just because there's so much things that are happening. And I know we'll hear from the tribal membership that collects antlers up there. If there's people trampling around, it's different when they're restricted to the road and staying on the road, but when they're allowed to go hiking up there and doing this and that, that opens up that potential conflict or perceived conflict. So I think if anything, I would suggest exactly what you said, Carrie, adjust it for, the true issue and then, but keep it closed because of the shed hunting conflict. Thank you.
And I don't want to give away our tips and tricks, but there are some contemporary technological ways that we're trying to address some of the theft of sheds. But it is a challenge. If we had a station set up out there to check people, there's those types of things. But it is, people are everywhere doing whatever. We've had people sneak on the bison range since before we were even managers, stealing sheds. So those guys chased somebody around there last year, I think, all day. Didn't catch him. And I think we had a decoy that was even damaged this year recently. So people really like those sheds, and we want to keep those for tribal members. I'm not saying cuss words. That's the thing.
Thanks, council, for your guidance on that, and we will amend that to reflect, maintain the closure, but just reflect the purpose of that and remove kind of the wildlife need for that this time.
And we're almost complete. We're going to go to page 65. We have another kind of reconciliation with the member regulations, which was the motor vehicles or ORVs being operated below the high water marks in rivers, streams, lakes, on tribal land, and even if a road is present, and making those exceptions for those reservoirs that get drawn down, and people like to be able to get closer to the water on those. They're kind of an artificial high water mark. And then people still being able to launch a boat in Flathead River or McDonald Lake. They may be able to take their vehicles down there temporarily and then move those back off as soon as they're done launching their vessel. That's just making that the same as we did with the tribal member regulations. And then snowmobiles, operating a snowmobile with the possession of firearms, bows, or crossbows, with the exceptions detailed in the wild bison hunting regulation. I think, again, that one just said firearms, and now we're adding the other types of weapons that people may be using while they're out there. So adding bows and crossbows as well. And then lastly, the disposition of human remains. We added this to the tribal member regulations last year, and now we're bringing it to the non-member regulations, just so that people understand about the internment of human remains on tribal land, that there is an ordinance that says those need to be in proper locations. And we get a lot of calls in our office of people wanting to put people's remains in places, and sometimes they're just doing it in campgrounds and other spots, and we just want to make sure that we're not going and digging up a new vault toilet over top of some places where somebody put their family, because that's maybe not the right place to put them, and we're just letting people know in the regulations. And that is all. And if you approve, we will take these to the Fish and Wildlife Board with the amendment that Carrie noted, and then put those for a 30-day public comment period after we get approval from the board.
Motion, or we just need a consensus? Motion by Tom to accept the reg amendments with the one change. Second by Carol. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you. We will be bringing the tribal member one soon. We have a trapper group that wants to propose some new trapping regulations. So it's just been a little lengthier amount of time to get all that together to bring those to you. So we'll be going to the culture committees as well. Thank you. Thanks.
Have a good day. And next on the agenda is Carolyn Upton, staff.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Morning, Carolyn. You're us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council, for your time this morning. I will be very brief. This is one of my regularly scheduled updates about the forest plan revision. We have just finished up a round of public engagements in our communities, and we are working on our range of alternatives, our alternative development right now, and what our plan is with the tribal staff and the culture committees. We're going to give you guys maybe a little bit of a break in the summer, and our plan is to reach out in the fall when we have some more internal products that we can share with you in our government to government consultation and go through what our alternatives are shaping up to look like. We'd like to do that both with your resource staff, forestry, fisheries, wildlife, as well as offer to your culture committees if they would like a discussion about how our forest plan's coming along, any areas of concern to them. We would like to offer to visit. Again, maybe we'll get through the summer and do this in the fall or early winter. That's sort of our plan right now. We would like to have a little bit more information together before we come, so we're not asking big open-ended questions. We'd rather have some things to offer for comment and discussion, and really ask you what is of interest to you when you have a chance to see where we're headed and what we're doing. I would like to thank you again for the work that the staff did on the tribal roles and contributions for our forest plan. We do have a lot of positive comments on that, including that helps set the stage for both past, present, and as we move into the future for our landscapes. So again, I wanted to thank you for that. Let me just pause there, right there, and see if there's any questions about like where we are and sort of this plan to reach out to, again, to the resource staff and to the culture committees in the fall with our draft alternatives and some more information.
Thank you, Carolyn. That sounds good. Does anybody have questions? I don't see any questions.
Thank you. The other thing I would like to do is I would like to thank Katie. Katie McDonald. She came to our forest leadership team meeting. When was that? Last week before last?
The week before last, yes. Seems so long ago now.
To visit with we have a lot of new members on our forest leadership team, rangers and staff, to visit with how we can work together, meet folks, talk a little bit about process and those kind of things. And I want to thank her for making the trip down to Missoula and starting to build that. If we need to bring some of our new folks, especially our district rangers who are in and around the reservation, up to the council to do some meet and greets, we will be talking with Katie, and we would be happy to do that. We just need to know. So wanted to thank Katie for that. Katie, is there any questions from you or anything else I can cover?
Not necessarily a question, Chairman Dolson and staff. Just to add on to it, working with the forest revision plan, our process for that communication with Lolo National Forest, actually all of our surrounding forests, is to, on my side, I have brought this to our CSKT interdisciplinary team and have given the opportunity for all of our resource staff members to review the document based per their section of their resource. We had a few comments that had come back. Whisper and her staff were really, worked really hard on putting some language together, had some comments. We had a few other staff that had some interest, but no major comments. I think Carolyn explains it really well, is that, you know, we're just trying to go ahead and get started some of that staff to staff interaction. Some folks have already been working with each other for the past few years. So it's, you know, nothing that they really saw outstanding that they needed to comment on. So, part of this process, like I said, is bringing to the IDT team each force. I've been taking turns of presenting, having our documented teams. Each department has the opportunity to put some comments in there. If they do not, then in the following IDT meeting for our CSKT group, I kind of go back over some of the documents that we have there, see if there's any last stragglers who want to put in some comments. But this one, I felt like we had done pretty well. I think the more that our CSKT staff gets a little bit more comfortable reading other documents from surrounding force, as well as the Bob Wilderness Complex, there's quite a bit of requests for involvement with CSKT. So I've been working pretty well with all of our forest supervisors to kind of re-engage what that relationship looks like. I know that this kind of seems like the year in the season everybody's got documents to get updated. So we're building friendships as well as reviewing, hitting some timelines. But my main goal and focus is to get people familiar with one another. It makes it easier to spend some time together and get some stuff worked out. So I like to thank Carolyn and her group for having me. I took some time to mostly just go over that process. What does it look like when consultation is being officially requested from CSKT, who the contacts are, who they might hear back from, kind of following that whole route. So I enjoyed my time there. I've been going to every forest, but I really enjoyed the short and special trip down to Missoula. But that's all I had to add to it, Carolyn, is that we did have some CSKT staff who had put in some pretty meaningful comments.
Thank you. That's all I had. I'll probably request to come back in the fall to give you an update on how the work is going with Katie through Katie with the staff. And if the culture committees again have any requests for us for conversation about this, how that might be going.
Other questions or remarks? Well, thank you, Carolyn, and thank you, Katie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So you still got something, Tony?
I do not, I mean, I think I'm scheduled for about 5 more minutes. As far as my position wide, working with Region 1 for our surrounding force and Missoula BLM field office, we had Bing come out on a field visit with us with Missoula BLM. We had some Missoula County commissioners who were pretty interested in the consultation, the rehabilitation, all of the projects that we really have lined up with Missoula BLM. I think I've mentioned it before, is that we're all just super gun-ho to get started, but we have officially gotten our paperwork done for the MOU. Signatures should be coming your way, and I know that Aaron Carey had asked if we were interested in a signing ceremony, so Aaron and I will go ahead and get started on coming up with some dates. I'll be sending emails to Jen to get to you guys, and we can kind of see what works for who and some of the locations that we might think of. And other than that, I give a lot of kudos and credit to the forest supervisors. They are all very excited to re-engage. I would like to say re-engage, because I always feel like they have been, but I think having my position there, someone that they can talk to face, instead of that little confusion in the air of really who to go to in front of council, I think This position has been working really well with connecting some of those dots for folks and answering some of those quick questions instead of requesting, an agenda request to come in front of you guys. So I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's working really well between myself and Tony and other staff that we have for the resource departments. We're really putting our best foot forward, and I feel like the Forest Service and BLM are doing the same. Everybody's now preparing for fires, so things are kind of slowing down, but as far as hitting our goals for some of our proposed field visits, early fall, everything's looking pretty well. So we'll have some paperwork for you guys, and other than that, we'll come together for some dates and celebrate some more. Any questions? Yes.
Go ahead, Bing.
It's not a question. It's just that I want to tell the council that Katie does with these people is great. He has a lot of knowledge of what they're talking about and also what we want too. So it's good to hear, kind of give them the lowdown on the tribe's part. And I really appreciated a trip with them up there, and I'd like to go again if they do have another trip. But still, I really appreciate what you do, Katie. Like I stated before, you do a good job.
Spring, yeah, we'll continue to send out council-wide invites if anybody wants to take a field day and come and hang out with some of us nerds who get excited about the little things. And other than that, we're a good time. Jokes are at the end of the field visit. So other than that, I appreciate your guys' time.
I have a question, Katie.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a question. I actually had the same kind of comment that Bing had. You're the perfect person for this job, and you communicate very well, and you have good knowledge base to be able to communicate those. And so much of it is just simply they don't know who, you summarize it very well. So you are a great spokesperson for us, and appreciate it, Katie. And anytime there are other field trips or things, yeah, please invite us. I tried to make that one. I couldn't make it, but I'm glad Bing did. Because that's what we need to do. We need to express ourselves out there on our Aboriginal homeland, on these federal lands as much as possible, because we have a protectable interest and we want to get our people back there. So thank you for a good job.
Yeah, much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Katie. Jennifer?
Mike wanted to ask two quick questions.
Two quick questions from Mike. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council. The CMP Crown Managers Partnership sent a letter to the chairman dated June 21st, asking if we could co-host the upcoming CMP forum in 2025. We had a call this morning and they were just asking me, so Rich Jansen and I are part of the CMP, and they were just asking me what the status was of that. I don't know if, is that something you would want me to do a council request and come in and do all that, or would that be something that you bring up, or how to?
I'd like to see you do a request and
Council request form? Okay, I'll do that. And I'll have Rich come in. The other one is I'm planning a climate workshop, regional climate workshop from October 15th, 16th, and 17th at Katucknook. And I will send a letter for this, Mr. Chairman, asking if you or any of the members of the council would be interested. Well, I'll invite everybody, but if we could do an opening welcome, and I am inviting Deb Holland to this workshop, October 15th, 16th, and 17th, and I will send that out probably this week. That's it. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will be coming in to update you guys on where we're at with the resolution and give you guys a report on that stuff. Thank you. Have a good day.
That's the morning, isn't it, Jen? Tom, you got a
Quickie, I just wanted to verify, is Tribal Health Committee on Monday?
No, you guys.
July
have-
15th?
Yeah, no, you guys have, Melissa's group that you guys approved last week. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there's no health committee meeting this month?
Probably the last, not the 22nd, since that's a holiday, the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be gone. In that consideration, I talked to Joe at the quarterly about he's supposed to bring back the Medicare B proposal on what it would be.
I don't have nothing on Thursday afternoon if you want me to have them scheduled there.
This Thursday?
Mhm.
Oh, that'd be great. But what he asked me was he wanted more direction. Once again from council. That would be the amount and recommend, yeah, the amount and a year. And then if they could do it like just once a year, you know, it'd be better for them. So I said, oh, okay. So I would just suggest to council that we just started out at 50%, given the amount of money that they have. And then that would be effective at the beginning of October 1st.
You know, we heard the amount of money, but has somebody seen that in our budget reports? Because it wasn't that amount when I last seen it. No, Jordan said 100 million. And so last time I thought I talked to Ruth and it was 60 million. So I want to know the figures. I want to see the actual.
We'll find that out.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the stuff they were supposed to produce for forever. So, but at a good starting point, I would suggest 50%. Just think about it. I don't, you know what it is, you're trying to reimburse our seniors for their social security deduct for Medicare B. And I'm fine with that being once a year if that's easy for tribal staff. So you'd have to prove it up that you were enrolled in the program. You could get a 50% reimbursement. I think that would be a good start. And so they would define, there's supposed to be stuff they're supposed to bring back. How many people were talking about, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know what the amount is, Carol. All I know is that every time I've looked at it and I've dug into it myself, I've been grossly dissatisfied or uncomfortable with the amount of carryover that they carry every year. And so I hate to think that there are people being denied, important health coverage. We could be doing that for them and we're sitting on money. I just have a hard time, or we're not even seeking reimbursement for it. I just have a hard time with that too. So thank you. Just want to plant that seed. And if we could get them on Thursday, that'd be great. That sooner the better.
Mr. Chair.
James?
Yeah, just to go along with that, I'm almost thinking all of this covered all instead of 50%, but whether it's 60 million or 100 million, there's a chunk of money that we could put some of this in an endowment that it perpetually covers these costs. And so one is we definitely need a clear report as to, and I agree with Kara. I've seen where it was 60, I've seen where it's 100, but never seen a clear accounting of that. But we've talked about having health insurance coverage and Medicare Part B coverage, and there's an amount of money that's in the tens of millions, from anywhere from 60 to 100 to do. We had Jody in here on an issue. We have the powwow issue. I mean, there's some things here that could potentially benefit from utilizing these funds, primarily, I know healthcare wise, but we got to be creative as some inventive, thinking outside the box and ways to handle this money, whatever amount it is.
Thanks, James. Carol?
I think the initial intent of any kind of carryover or third-party revenue was to make sure that there was at least 2 to 3 years coverage. But that was back in the day when IHS compact budgets or budgets were so iffy. And now I think we're getting to the point where we're pretty strong in our position. So I think, it's definitely time, but I can't remember anything that I've been denied it for. And I hope it's not just because I sit here. I hope everybody's in the same position because, anytime I hear somebody saying, well, I was, we're not sure if it's going to get taken care of, I try to check into it and make sure there is no reason for somebody to not be getting taken care of, period.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, Carol, I can tell you from personal experience, my son has had bills denied because they said he wasn't registered when I took him in personally and got him registered. And I talked to staff at the Pablo clinic because I went there for something and I wasn't registered. And so they re-registered me. And when I called Katie at, Katie, I think her name is Katie, yes, at Paid Care and said, what is the deal? I registered, I personally walked my son in and registered. She said, yes, there's a glitch in the system in Polson. When people register in Polson, it doesn't get into this, it doesn't get entered. And I said, well, if you're aware of it, can't you guys fix it? And she said, well, that's not really my department. So I'm like, okay. So there is an issue and people do get denied all the time for very arbitrary reasons.
Mr. Chair, sorry to jump on that bandwagon. So at the quarterly, I went and got my tetanus shot. She said, you've got your first shingle shot. You need to get your second one. I said, I did it. She said, well, it's not in our system. I said, well, I did it at the pharmacy in Mission. She said, well, their records don't jive with the pharmacy records, so she'll check into it. I said, I did do the second shingle shot. So there's even that, even with the immunizations, there was a discrepancy between, I did it at pharmacy and she was in a pharmacy. So anyway, sorry.
Chairman, on another issue, before I forget, as I mentioned this morning, I think it was important that we move on that deal that was proposed by Ralph Foster. So at this time, I'd like to make the motion to show interest in negotiating the purchase of the Foster funeral home. That's just to show interest in having our staff starting to negotiate.
Lynn is offering a motion to show interest in Ralph's business. Second by Bing. All in favor? Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Oh, we got,
Well, I'm opposed just because I don't know how we're gonna buy it.
7-4, 2 opposed. James and Martin opposed.
And I'm opposed because I think there needs to be an evaluation of the building and the business. And I did see that in the paperwork. And I didn't appreciate that he put in his proposal attacking a tribal member in this process. So, I didn't appreciate, if he was just gonna propose a sale, he could have just proposed it and not put in his paperwork attacking a tribal member that he worked with. He didn't have to put that in there. He could have left it out.
Lynn?
No, I totally agree with that. Unfortunately, we're in a circumstance where if we do not purchase this, we are going to be at we're going to have other funeral homes owning this business, and they're going to charge us for whatever they want to charge, and guess what? We're going to have to pay it. So anyway, that's one of the reasons why I think we need to purchase this business. Thank you.
Carol?
And I think that comes from a lot of experience. And I know Len, myself, others on the council have worked with families through this tough, difficult time. And boy, it scares the hell out of me to think that Fred Thompson or whatever his name is, Fred Nelson, you know, can charge anywhere from $6,000, $8,000, $10,000. But definitely James makes some good comments about looking at all the details of the building, and maybe that's not the building for us, but at least the business definitely is something we need to look at.
We'll recess for birthday cake.
Yeah, Abby's recording. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and, before the day was over, I want to make sure that we commended the powwow committee for all their hard work, all their volunteer work. Understanding that things don't always, you can't please everyone. I felt the powwow went very well, had some awesome drums and great dancers. Probably way too many food vendors to eat at all of them, but I tried. And so definitely just want to make sure that any of the negativity that came out, you know, should be kind of not discounted, but definitely the good outweighed the bad. And what little, see you, Jennifer. I feel like I'm being bullied. I'm not even kidding anymore. But yeah, definitely great powwow. Probably spent the most time, like Carol said, this year was probably the most I spent down there since before the pandemic. So it's rebounded and rebounded well. So yeah, just want to make sure to thank powwow committee and all the other people that put in the work there.
Thanks, Martin. Please pass that on to the committee, Ben. Appreciate that. Entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
We're adjourned.